And there was some interesting, to say the least, comments made by one of the greatest players ever to put on a St Kilda Guernsey in Nick Riewoldt.
I can promise you now, the standards in that joint over the last however long have been subpar. And so when the president says we were kidding ourselves, we were a mile off it, you're not just talking about the win-loss. You're talking about the actual talent you've got at your disposal, and you're talking about the standards within the football club to allow that talent to outperform, which hasn't happened. They've absolutely gone forward, and guess what? Now I think we're starting to see the lack of talent on the list.
Strong comments from the former St Kilda great. Brett Ratten was equally strong in his response.
To be honest, Nick's been to zero, really, at the footy club. The only time he came was for free physio. So, that's the only time he was at the club. So I don't know where he saw the standards piece.
I've got to be honest, I'm staggered by that to and fro demo. I mean, they're two revered people in football. Forget about what clubs they're attached to. I was surprised when I heard the comments from Nick, and then, Brett Ratten rarely gets dragged into those kind of things. He's entitled to his response, but that's a fairly significant story.
I thought it was a fantastic response in both the words said and the manner in which it was delivered. And I think it reinforces the view that I had at the time, and I think others did as well, that Nick Riewoldt was giving advice through his opinions on the footy club to Andrew Bassett during the course of last year, which had Brett Ratten re-signed as coach and then 100 days later sacked.
That's a fairly big accusation. You're basically
calling... which I expressed at the time, and I've got no doubt that he has got the ear of key St Kilda people. And I feel that attitude that he's displayed today, out of nowhere and from a long way away, suggests that to be the case.
Did you listen to that, Lloydie, and think that it was Nick defending a man who he was very close to how did you read into those comments from a guy that's had a lot of relationships at the top level?
I know that they're as tight a player-coach relationship as I've seen, Riewoldt and Ross Lyon. And there's no doubt it'd be... it's interesting that he finished to clear out that, OK, what Ross has to do first is pretty much pick up the pieces from what Ratten has left, and now he's done that, he's been left with a poor list. So he's giving a fair few outs for Ross Lyon in what he's having to say, but at the same time, poor Brett Ratten has copped it as hard as anyone could cop it on the way out. Everyone wants to say what a basket case he left it in, and when Bassett and them sit out there, the way he was exited from the club. And then
he was humiliated.
He was. And
by the actions of the footy club.
And then 6 months on, or 9 months on, he then cops it again from a man he may believe was behind doing it. So he was fully entitled to give Nick a strong whack back.
And whether you want to judge it any other way, comparatively, they're about the same win-loss as they were this time last year anyway. And we know what happened last year.
So you think it's wrong what Nick said today?
I'm not going to judge Nick for saying it, but I'm just going to judge what I believe to be the background to it. Nick's got every right to say what he wants, but I thought it was a strange timing to raise it today when Brett Ratten has been through a lot and he's been open about that. He hasn't wanted sympathy. I think that's been a credit to him. And to then throw it in that the standards were poor, that's directed at one person, the way I read it. And I think it's unnecessary.
Two proud people, and you mentioned it before, well respected in the football industry, defending
highly revered.
Yeah, both defending their position. One's defending, obviously, clearly support of the coach, Nick Riewoldt and Ross Lyon, and of course that hurt a bit of pride for Brett Ratten because that's his coaching, I guess, credibility on the line being questioned.